Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to design this beautiful e-commerce UI for an organic grocery app. Don't go anywhere, stay tuned. So you're welcome back. Let's quickly bring in a frame, and we're going to use the iPhone 13 mini for this tutorial, and I'm going to change this to home. And then let's quickly set up our layout grid. Let me push this up here and let's change this to colon. And we're going to use the standard count for mobile, which is 4. And I'm going to change this to 1E, 1E. And our margin is going to be 20 and the gutter 16. So now that we are done setting that up, let's quickly bring in some assets. So, okay, I think we already have indicator here. So let me bring in the indicator. And then I'm just going to reduce the dimensions here. So the dimension, the width for this is actually 375. So we are just going to resize this to 375 so it fits in. So now I'm just going to drag this and push this inside of here. So once you see the blue highlight around the frame, it means the object is already inside. So I'm just going to center this properly and push it down. The next thing we're going to search for is the status. And we're going to drag this also. And what we are going to do, we're also going to reduce the width. So we're going to change this to 375. And then I'm going to turn off the appearance. Oh, not appearance, please. The fill color. And then push it inside. Make sure that you see the blue highlights around the frame, so you know that it has entered inside of the frame. So now that we've set that up, let's quickly make a little edit here. So I'm just going to edit this, and we're going to push this to the right and change the padding to 20, so it can align with our grid. Same here also, to the right and align with our grid. Alright, so now that we are done with that, let's quickly set up our color styles. Let's add them. Let's add the color styles to our project. So I'm just going to go over here under the styles to set up our color styles. So the first color is our green one. The first green color, and I'm just going to push this and pick this color. So now that I've picked it, so this is our color code, and I'm going to add it so you can see it here. So I'm going to go over and continue the process and add the second color, which is our green 2. And I'm going to pick it and create style. So you can see it has been added. Let's quickly do that also. Let's do the next one. So the next one is our yellow 2. Yellow 2. Because we have like the main yellow. And let me quickly pick that. I think I'll rearrange it like when we are done, but let's just go on. Alright, so the next one is the orange color. So I'm just going to pick this and set it up. And the next one is the yellow one. Oh, we didn't add the W. And move this and then pick it. And then we'll create star. So the next one, we're just going to add the gray fill. Oh, I guess, okay. I almost thought I lost that. Alright, so we're going to add this to gray color, and the gray color is going to push this and add our gray. So our gray color is 797979. And now the next one will be our outline color. So we need to create like color for all the outline we'll be using. Or let's call this gray 2/outline. Gray 2/outline. Yeah, so I'm just going to select this and then pick it. So is that E3, E3? Yeah, so that created like a different folder for it. but I just want to differentiate it though. So the next one is our BG color. So this is going to be our background color. So I'm just going to name it BG color. We're going to use F6 for our BG color. So let's now add the neutral white and let's just add black and white. So I'm just going to add white. So our regular white to be F. That's how many Fs? I think we have like more than enough Fs. All right. So this is our white color, and then we're going to name the next one black. So we're not going to use pure black here. We're going to use 1E for our pure black. So for our black color instead. I think that's it. So now it's time to start designing what we want to design. So now I can delete all this and then start designing. So the first thing we are going to work on is this part of it. We're just going to bring in the deliver to. So this says deliver to, and then that's going to be, we're going to make it 12 pixels. So for this particular tutorial, we're using the SF Pro. That's what we are good as the font we're using, the SF Pro. So let me reduce this and make sure this is auto. Your outline height should be auto, except you want to customize it in a way. Probably you want to use for something, but your line height should always be on auto, please. So now that we have these things, we now have the users to be able to select their location. So I'm just going to change this to Lagos, Nigeria. And then I'm going to increase this to, let's use bold here, and let's make this 16 pixels. Oh, I didn't click outside, so I'm going to make this 16 pixels and make this bold. Or let me use semi bold. I don't like using bold a lot on my designs. So let's quickly add like an icon here, and then there's going to also be an icon here also. So let me quickly bring that in. Let's use the icon library we're going to be using is the huge icons library. So I'm going to go over to the free, then push this to the side, and then I'm just going to select anywhere. Let me just select anywhere, and then bring in, the first one is location. I think I like this, so let's use this instead. So let's quickly duplicate this. And then what we are going to add next is down. So I'm just going to change this to down. All right, now if you can see, if you zoom in, like you can see the name is still displaying. This means this is not inside of this frame yet. So I'm just going to select both of them and push them outside first. And then push them back inside. So you see now we no longer have the names showing, that it has entered the frame. So this icon here, I'm just going to hit K. Just going to hit K and change this to 16 pixels. So I'm going to scale it down to 16 pixels. Oh, sorry about that. I'm just going to hit Ctrl Z to come back, and then we're going to change it to 16. And then I'm just going to hold this, add auto layout to it, and then the gap between it, I think 4 looks not bad. And let's do the same here. So this also is going to be 16. So let me scale this down to 16. Yeah, and I'm going to select this and this, add auto layout to it, and I'm going to turn this off and change this to 4. Let's see how it looks. Not bad also. So I'm just going to select both of them and add auto layout to it. And then we're going to see the distance between them. Let's leave the distance between them. That's the gap to the 8. I think it looks too much, so I'm just going to reduce it to 4. Yep, so I want it to be like 24 from the top. We'll review that shortly, but let's just continue. So just make sure the margin is correct and the distance between this and this is like 24, and we are also following the margin. So now if we zoom out, this is how it looks. So let's quickly continue. Let's see, what did we give here? Is it 4? Okay, it's 4. I think that's okay. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to create like the search, the button for the search for users to be able to search products. And we're also going to add like a little carts option there. So for that, I'm just going to create the frame that will host that quickly. And then I'm going to give it the white color. And then I'm going to give it like a corner radius of 4. So there's something that we forgot to do. We didn't add our background color to this. So I'm quickly going to add a background color to this. So since we've already created the style, I'm just going to look for background color and add it. So now, if you see now, let me turn off this layout grid. You see, this looks like it's elevated because of the white is not really pure. I mean, the background is not really pure white. So this is what we want to achieve. So I'm just going to pick one of this icon and push it inside of there. So we are going to copy this icon. I'm going to copy this icon and I'm going to paste it inside here using Control Paste. Hold the K and scale it up to 24. Then center it properly. Let me see. Okay, I want this particular frame that is holding the icon to be 40. And then I want the icon inside of it to be 24. So the icon is 24. The frame holding the icon is 40. So now that we have that, I'm just going to push this to the side and make sure that we are following our margin of 20. And I'm going to select this and make sure that they are aligned to the middle. Then that we have this, I'm going to duplicate this, holding Alt. And let's use like 12. I think 12 is okay. Let's select everything and make sure everything is on the same lane. So I'm going to select this to add auto layout to it and then rename this. I think we'll just have to quickly rename everything. So for this, I'm just going to call these icons. And this will be for search. And this will be for cart. So we are going to change the icons shortly. Let's delivery address. And this is going to be header. And this is going to be user location. So now that we are done with that, I think we are good to go. So now the next thing we are going to do now is to hold both of them and add auto layout to them. And then I'm going to, okay, it's already at auto. So I want this to be at auto. So let's move this back to 24. So now let's quickly change the icons, please. So for this, we're changing this to the search icon. So let's quickly swap it. And then here also, we're changing this to the cart. So let's use this. Alright, so since we've added it, let's quickly add like the counts quickly. So I'm just going to bring in another frame sharply. And we're going to call this like items. So this is going to be like 100% corner radius. And then I'm going to change this to our primary color, which is basically orange, because that's what we're going to be using for our city and all. So this is 12. Let me add 2 there. And let's see how that works. So this should be like 8. Let me push this inside. Ooh. Let me push this inside of this. Okay, yeah. So we're going to center this properly. Then move this and make sure it's inside of this frame and push it to the top a bit. Let's make sure it's aligned properly. I think this is good. So now let's quickly continue. So we're going to just move into the next line. So the next line has like this text which says fresh groceries, full stop, then zero hassle. And for this, we're going to give it 24. I think semi-bold is okay. I wouldn't want to stress about that. So let's make sure this is 24 from the top and we're maintaining our margin. So let me quickly turn on our margin so that you guys will see that we are on board. We're still on. Yeah, we have been maintaining the margin consistently and that's good. So let me turn that off. I don't always like having the margin turned on when I'm working. And then we're just going to select this and change the color of this actually. So I'm just going to change this to our primary, which is the orange color. Yep. So don't forget to even change this to our black. Let's make sure that everything on this project is carrying our black color. So let's change this to black. Why is that not clicking? And this also should turn to our black color. Yeah. And this the icons too should have our black color. And then we also have a white color. So everything should be consistent with our styling. So the next part that we're going to do is to create the banner. So for this particular banner now, we want to make sure that we are following our margin. So I'm going to change this to 335. 335 is just like the work environment that is within our margin. So this is 24 and we're going to give it a corner radius of 24. And then we're going to add color to it. So the field that we're going to use for this is the yellow 2. So we're going to use the yellow 2, the second yellow color for this. And this, let me give it a height of 160 and see how that works. So let's make sure we are still following the consistent spacing. Alright, so I'm just going to create like a little text here which says 25% discount. And this, we're just going to reduce this to 12 pixels and it should be like semi-bold. I think we already have semi-bold there. And then I'm going to add a little auto layer here by holding Shift and A, and then we're going to change the whole thing to like 412. So the top and bottom will be 4 and the left and right should be, oh no, I wanted to put in 12, sorry. And then we're going to change this to, let me add a field to this. So our field is going to be the green color, the second green color, and we're going to give it like a round corner radius. So let's make sure that we maintain 20 top and left. Alright, so this is what we want. And then I'm just going to bring in like the caption for this particular section, which is shop fresh, eat well, full stop, and live better. So now that we have that, I'm just going to push this. And then we're going to make this 16 and leave it as semi-bold. So I like using semi-bold. I don't really use much of bold. But to use bold on your work too is okay, except you really want to use it. There are some parts I use bold, but I prefer to use semi-bold most times because it's like mobile, it's not something very... So let's see if this works and let's reduce this. Oh, I don't like the fact that the text is centered. So I'm going to align it to the left. And then I'm just going to reduce this a bit and leave it as this. So now the next thing we're now going to do is I'm going to duplicate this actually. Oh no, I think I dragged it the wrong way. So let me select outside and select it again and then duplicate. So this time around, we're going to create our call to action button. So for the call to action button, I'm going to make the top and bottom 8 instead. And then this should be 16. So we're just going to change the text inside of this to shop now. Oh no, I would like it to be title case. Yep. So now that we have this shop now, we're just going to change the colors. So the field will be our orange and then the color inside will be white color. So now let's make sure that this is like 12. Yeah, so I'm just going to select all of them and add auto layout to it. So let's quickly add auto layout to it and center it properly. Center it, align it to the middle. I don't know how this works, but let's see if we can increase the gap to 14. Or let's increase it to like 16 and see. So 16 is not like working, so I'm just going to make this 20 and make sure that I also drag this so that it will be 20 also. Okay, let's change the constraints. You know, when I dragged it, like I've undo the constraints that I just added. Why I'm adding constraints is because once I drag it, you see it's moving with the box, which is not what I want. I want to pin it to the left and the top. So I'm just going to select this. It's already pinned to the left. I'm just going to pin it to the top. So now, if we now adjust this, it will go on its own. All right, so this is what we want. And now that we have this, let me make sure that this is semi-bold. All right, it's already on semi-bold. But let's change this to bold and see how it looks. Yeah, I think this is still okay. At least it's very, very visible. So now we have actually gotten to where we need to now add images. So we are going to quickly bring in all the images that we're going to use for this particular project. So I'm just going to open a new tab and go over to Google, and then we're going to search avocado PNG transparent, avocado PNG transparent. And then I'm going to go over to the image tab. This is Google, in case you might be wondering. And then we will click on tools, look for these tools button here, and then go over to sizings and make it large so that we'll have like a very high resolution of the image, whatever image we are getting from Google. So I want it to have a transparent background. That's why I added the PNG transparent. So you see this one that we selected now, it brought out like a transparent background. So we're going to quickly copy that and go over to our work environment and paste it. So I'm going to hit the scale and reduce this to like 160. So now that we've reduced it to 160, I'm just going to push it inside of this frame and see if it enters. Let me just move it outside and then move it again inside. Okay, yeah. So you see that it has entered inside. So I'm just going to push it, center it to the middle. So why I made it 160 so that it can fit into what we have here. So I'm just going to push it out a bit. I think this is okay. Let's see if we can gauge the distance between this. So we don't want this clashing. Oh no. Let me remove the scale and then push it backward a bit. Yeah. So we want this to be 4 is okay. Let's just leave it at 4. And now we have this. This is what we currently have. This is how this looks. Looks very okay. So before we move forward, let's quickly add every other images that we're going to be using so we don't go over to Google anymore. Let me quickly add, I think we'll need like meat. Let's add tomatoes first. So let's search for some fresh organic produce. All right, let's quickly copy this. For this particular one, I'm going to give it like 100 and I'm going to make it a component. So let's hit K and reduce the width to 100. I think the height should be 100 instead, please. So now that we have the height that's 100, I'm going to make this a component quickly and name this tomatoes. And then we're going to go over to the next thing. So we already have avocados. So the next thing, let's bring in carrots. And okay, I think I like this. So you see, it has actually given us the transparent version of this. So I'm just going to come over here and paste. And then we're going to hit K and then change the height to 100. And then I'm going to make it a component and rename it to carrots. So you're going to see why I'm making it a component shortly. So we're going to bring in meat. Let's see what works. Let's see this. I think it has like a transparent version, but I don't really like that white that it has under it. Let me see if I'll see some other samples. Let's see if this one works. Okay, this one has like a transparent background. Let's quickly copy it, then I come over here and paste it. So let me reduce this to the height to 100, and then let's add components and rename it to meat. And I think we'll also be using this too. So I'm just going to bring this out. Let's leave what we already have here, and I'm going to reduce this to 100 also. So why I'm actually making it a component, so we can use it within our cards, and we can just swap instances. So I'm going to change this to avocado. So now that we have all this set up, let me arrange it in a way that it's not actually taking too much space. All right, so we have them here. So the next thing we're going to create is our categories. So the categories that we have for this project. So I'm just going to bring in a text and put in the text first before I make it a component. So for this, we're going to type in all. I think all is the first one. And let's check the 14. And semi-bold doesn't look bad though. And then we're going to use Shift A to apply auto layout to this. And then we're going to make the top and bottom 8. And then this will be like 16. So since this is the first one, I'm just going to change the color to our, let me put the green, and then the fill, let's add a fill color to green 1. So I'm just going to give it a corner radius of 100. So now that we have this, I'm just going to push this outside and give this, let me name this category. I don't even know if I spelled that correctly. All right, so I'm just going to make it a component and then add a variant to it. So the other variant is just going to have like a white background. It's going to have like a white background, and the green here will just be like probably, let's use gray. We'll check it out obviously. So let's select this and make this, create a component property for this so that we can edit this. So I'm just going to make the content, add a property to the content. So while we are just going to say text content, let me name this text content. All right, so I'm going to create property, and then I'm just going to select this. Let's quickly rename the property. So this will be like state, and then I'm going to change this to selected, and let me change this to inactive. All right, so now that we have that, I'm just going to copy this and drag this inside of here. So we have like a variant or an instance of this. So now I'm just going to make sure that this is like 24 from the top and push it to make sure that this is like 20, 24. So I'm just going to duplicate this and then apply auto layout to it. So let me quickly add auto layout to that. And I'm going to give the gap should be like 12. Yes, so I'm just going to change this to our inactive state. And then I'm going to duplicate. Let's quickly change the content. Let's change the content for this too. So we're going to name these vegetables. Well, let's keep that veggies. And then we're just going to change this to fruits. And we're going to change this to meat. And then I'm just going to change this to dairy. So I'm going to push this. So now that we have this, let's make sure that let's name these categories. So I think that's that for that. So I'm just going to push this, and then we're going to clip this properly. And I think this is all set. Just make sure we have 24, and then 24. and 24. Let's just be consistent with our spacing. So now the next thing we need to add now, we need to create our product card. So to create our product card, let's quickly turn on our layout grid so that I can get the measurements. So let's make sure that we are maintaining 20 and make sure that this is also accurate. All right. So now what we are going to do, we are going to add like a white fill to this and give it the corner radius of like 12. And let me just make the height like 204, and let's make the height 204. And then let's turn off the layout grid because we already have what we want. Let me turn it off. We're going to turn it on if we need it again. So I'm just going to add like a frame inside that will hold the product image. And this, I should just make it like 152. And then I want it to have like 4 all around that. So make sure the top is 4. You can see here is 4, here is 4, and here is 4. Just make sure that it maintains 4 all around that. So I'm going to give this, the color I'm going to give this, I don't know. Let's see, outline, let's use outline colors or the gray or the second gray. So this should be like 8. So let's see how this looks. Not bad. But since we've gotten here, let's quickly drag this outside. We're going to paste it inside of this, but let's drag it outside and do the final edit and make it a component. So I'm going to name this product card. So now that we have the product card, the next thing I'm just going to do is, let me see the height of this. Let's reduce this to 120. And then let's give this the product name. So let's call this tomatoes. And let me reduce the size of this text to, I don't know, let's see 16. Let's see how 16 looks. 16 doesn't look bad though. Let's maintain this 8. You know, this already has like 4. I wouldn't want to maintain this, so I'm just going to double it and make it 8. Make sure that this is 12 from the top. I think we should make this 14. I don't want it to be too much or too little. Alright, 8 is okay, and make sure we're still maintaining the 12 at the top there. So the next thing we're going to quickly add is, let's bring in a star so we can add the ratings. So this should be 16, and I'm going to just add corner radius of like a 1 corner radius. So that's too much. Let's make it 0.5. I don't want the edges to be sharp like that. Yeah, this is what I want. Then I'm going to duplicate this and call this 4.2. Let's say this product has a rating of 4.2. So I'm just going to drag this and drag this over here and select both of them and add auto layout to this. And I'm going to give it a gap of like 4. Oh, I think I hit 34 by mistake. So now that this is going to be our black color. We're going to maintain our black color here. And then this is going to, the color for this star is going to be yellow. Alright, so I'm just going to select both of them. Let me make sure this has like 8 at this side. Alright, so I'm just going to select both of them and add auto layout to this. And make sure we're maintaining 4 and 8. That's 12, sorry, 12 from the top. So now that we have this, the next thing we're just going to do now is to I'm just going to duplicate this, but then I'm going to name this, change this to the dollar value, which is like $12. And then we are going to delete this. Or let's just create this from scratch. So I'm just going to drag this out from this auto layout to it. So we are going to make this like $12. And I'm going to push this to the side. Just make sure we are maintaining 8 and see this should be like 12. And I think we'll still fix that, but let's see how it goes. So the next thing we're going to add is for users to be able to add it to cart. So I'm just going to create a little this thing here, and let's make it 24 and see. Okay, I want it to be 24 around that. So I'm just going to add corner radius of 100 and add our fill color green, and then let me bring in add an icon to it. So let's move over to free, and then we're going to use plus. We're going to search for plus. Hopefully it goes inside. Oh wow, it did go inside. So I'm just going to reduce this to 16. So let's reduce this to 16. So this should just be 16. And then I'm going to center it properly, and then rename this to add to cart. So let's change this to the green 2. And then we're going to select both of them. Or let me push it to the end first. Make sure we are maintaining the 8s, and I'm going to select this also. Then let's add auto layout to it. Yes, this is what I want. Wow, I think we'll have like some padding around it. So I'm going to remove the padding that we have around it. I'm going to push this and also push this. Let's make sure we are maintaining the 8. So now I'm just going to make 12 and see how this goes. Alright, so I guess this is what we want to do. Alright, let's see how this looks. It doesn't look bad though, so let's just probably we'll just have to increase this a bit. Let's increase this to like 16. And this is okay. Alright. So I'm going to select both of them and add auto layout to it. And then so we're just going to, so the gap should be okay. I think it's okay like this. So let's make this 12, and then let's add this thing of 4. This should also be fill. Let me change one of these to fill. Let's change this to auto. Yes. So I'm going to add auto layout to this. Quick. So I'm going to add auto layout to this. Let's see how this looks. So we don't want any gap between this, and so I'm just going to remove the gap because we've already added gap inside of this. You get, we've already added gap inside of this, and if you look closely, I already added another 4 padding and 12. So 12 is supposed to hold the gap for this, so that we can also have like a 12 gap beneath it. And then since we already have 4 outside of here, so I just wanted to maintain the 4 outside of here. That's why I added another 4 inside of here to give this guy his own breathing space. So now that we have this, but we have one more thing. The top and bottom is not actually giving us, the 4 in the top and bottom has removed. So what we can just do is, all we're just going to do is to add the top and bottom padding to make it 4 also. So this is what we currently have now. So now that you've seen this now, so we're just going to add the tomato. So we're just going to drag this and drop inside of here. So now that the blue highlights showed, that means we have added it to the frame successfully. So let's rename this to product image. So I'm going to give it the short form of the image. So let's quickly name this. Let's name this content. And this is item title plus ratings. And this is like the ratings. So let me quickly rename all these things, and we're going to name this price plus CTA. And this is just going to be, why do we have 2 price plus CTA? That's weird. Alright, since we have that, I'm just going to copy this. And then select this to paste and replace. I don't want us having unnecessary things. So I'm going to call this price plus CTA. And then let's check inside and see if there's any other thing. Okay, I think that's that for that. So now we are ready to make this a component. So I'm just going to hit the component button. Now we have made it a component. So I'm going to select this and I want us to be able to swap this image. So I'm just going to come here and add property to it. So I'm going to add property here. I'll just put swap image. So I think I'll detach that and do that again. Oh, I think I've already created the swap image. Let's try and see if we can edit it. Alright, so I want to add other images too. So we have avocado, we have this. Oh, let me select it from here. So these are the only things that we can see. We're not going to see any other components we created. So I just want us to be able to swap between these particular selections. Alright, so now that I've done that, I think we are done now. So I'm going to copy this and then come here, paste to replace. So now we have done that. I'm just going to select this and push this. And make sure we maintain since we used a gutter of 16, so I'm just going to maintain 16. What I mean by gutter is the spacing between our layout grid. So if we turn this on, the spacing between our layout grid is 16. So you see, are you sure it's 16 or 20 that way? So it's 16 we use here. I remember using 16. So now that we have this, so I'm just quickly, now that we've been able to, so why I created that property is so that once I click on this, I can easily swap the image. So you see now we can easily swap the image. So I can swap it to carrot, or I can even swap it to meat. You get? So now we are going to also create properties for this content also. So this is we're going to call this item name. So we're going to create the property for item name, and we're going to also create property for the rating. Rating item ratings. So we're going to create that also, and lastly we're going to change the create property for the item price. So now you see that once I click on this now, I can easily change all these values from here. So I can add the item name, the item ratings, and the item price. Let's quickly do that for this. So you see now I can change this to meat. So it has changed to meat. I can change the rating to 4.8. And I can change the price to, let's say the price for this is $24 or something. So you see we can easily change from here. That's why I created those properties. So I'm just going to select this and this and drag this. So it'd be nice to add components to this, but I'm just going to drag it. So we're just going to maintain the 16. Since we already used 16 for the gutter, we're just going to maintain the 16. So now let's quickly let me drag this. But we're still going to close this though. Just don't forget that the height of this particular frame is 812. 812. Don't forget 812 because we're going to close it back to 812. I just want to just edit the details for this before we close it. So let's select these two, and I'm going to add auto layout to this. So I'm just going to create auto layout for this and name this product. Let's just name it row 1. Row 1. And I'm going to select this and this. What am I selecting, please? Alright, so I'm just going to add auto layout to this and name this row 2. So now we're going to select all the rows and add them, and now we're going to add products. So now that we have products, I'm just going to edit this once. Let me select this and edit it. So for this, we're going to swap this to, let's change this to carrots, and let's change the name to carrot. And let's leave the rating and let's just give it one funny price. So, and this, I'm going to change this to avocado lastly. So this is avocado, and we're going to change this to avocado. And we're going to leave the rating at this and probably give this price of, let me just put it maybe we can just leave it at 16. Yep. So now that we've done that, I'm just going to close this off. So let's turn off our layout grid quickly. Yeah, so this is what we currently have right now. Let's make sure that this maintains the margin that we want. Okay, 16, we did well. Okay, let's check this also. So now there's something we need to add here currently. We need to add like popular to make sure that these are like popular stuff. So I'm just going to, so these are like the popular products, all the popular products. So, we selected all. So I'm going to give this like 16 semibold. I think 16 semibold is okay. And I'm going to push this here and call this view all. And I want us to also have like a little icon facing right here. Let's see if we have any right icon, if we brought in any right icon. Okay, we've not done that. So I'm just going to, but we are going to reduce this to like 12. And we'll change the color when we add the icon, please. Let's go over to icon and let's select this. And now we're going to change this to, let's call this right. So I'm just going to select this. Alright, so we now have it inside of our project. So this is still showing the name. That means, oh God, I selected the wrong thing. Sorry. It's the same mistake again. So I'm just going to select this and push this outside. So I don't like the name showing, so I'm just going to push it back inside. Okay, now we don't have that name again. So now I'm going to reduce this to like 16, please, using the scale stuff, and we are going to add auto layout to both of them, and I'm going to reduce the gap. Let's put the gap as 4. Or let me even remove the entire gap. I don't need gap there. So we're just going to change our colors to like gray. We want it to have like a gray feel there. Yes. And then I'm going to select this and this, and I'm going to add auto layout to it. And then I'm going to, I didn't add auto layout. And then I'm going to, okay, now I like what this is. So we are going to change the width to 335 because that's where our work environment is. So yeah, so we have this, and we're going to select these two and add auto layout to this and make this, give it a gap of 12. So this is the gap I'm talking about, this gap here between the header and the product cards. That's what we add. So we are going to change this to header. So let's just change this to header, and then we're going to change this to, what's this? Okay, view all. So now that we're done with the header, we have products already. So I think we are good to go here. So what's this also? Okay, let's call this header plus cards. Oh, I think I'm clicking on something different. Let me quickly go back. I think I made a mistake while typing on my keyboard. So what I'm just going to change this is header plus product cards. So now that we have that, I'm just going to close this. And now let's go back to what we were saying before. I think I mistakenly added this box there. So I hope I didn't, you need to be careful the kind of things you're clicking and be very, very vigilant so you don't end up spoiling your whole work by pressing something random. Let's change this to 24. Yep. So we have constantly maintained the 24 gap. And also 24 gap. Alright, so I think we should have like a full stop at the end of this. Alright, so let's make sure everything is following the margin. So I think the last thing we need to just create, let's reduce this back to 812. Yes. So we are reducing back to 812. And let's quickly check something. Let me select all of this. Let's check everything and make sure that everything is on point. So this is the home. What is this? Okay, this is like the banner. Let's quickly rename this. This is the banner, and this is like all that, and this is this frame and status bar. So the status bar, let's quickly arrange everything. I'm just going to push this to the top. So the status bar comes first, then the home indicator should be on top of this. But for this home indicator, I think we'll just move it out a bit. We are going to put it inside shortly. Or let's quickly create the nav bar, then we'll come back and arrange everything. So for the nav bar, I'm just going to select this and push this. Okay. So our nav bar, let's call this bottom nav bar. So now that we have the bottom nav bar, we're just going to quickly create our nav bar. So the width of this particular frame is 375, don't forget. So we are going to push this to the center and push downward. So I want this to be pinned to the bottom and the left. So now that we have this, we're just going to quickly create the frames that we're going to use for this. So the frames for our nav link. So I want let's call this nav link. And I want the height to be 40 and the width to be 60. Alright, so I'm just going to, you know what, let's bring in an icon. Let's bring in our first icon. So I'm going to call this icon home. So let me select this. Alright, so now we have home already. So I'm just going to push this to the center. And I want this to be 20. So I'm just going to use, so I don't think I'll need scale. So let me just make sure this aspect ratio is locked. So make sure that it's locked. So I'm going to reduce this to 20 and center it properly. And we're going to add our home. So let's name this home. So I'm going to make the text 12 pixels. And this should be medium. I don't want anything to be regular. And make sure you also check the line height. Your line height should always be auto. So I'm going to center it and push this down and see if we have space. I think this is okay. It's actually fine by me. And then I'm going to make this a component quickly. And then I'm going to create a variant. So now why I'm creating a variant is because I want one aspect to be filled and the other one when it's not selected. When it's selected, the icon should be filled. So I'm going to select this icon and I'm going to remove the strokes and add a fill to it. So the fill now is going to be our green color and the font is going to be semi-bold and our green color. Oh, when did it enter semi-bold, please? Alright, so we're going to leave it as semi-bold and it's going to carry our green color also. Our green color. Alright, we're going to remove the fill very soon. I just want us to see what we are doing. So now, one thing that I forgot to do something. We need to make this a component, this particular icon a component. So I'll just have to recreate that again. The reason I'm making it a component so we can easily swap this and so they can be responsive when I select any of them, it can easily change because they are part of one component and any change I make to one will affect the other. I don't know if you understand that, but I think you do. So we can now edit this particular component and I'm going to remove this just like how we did it before. I'm going to add this. Alright, so now that we have this, so this is our component, so this works for this and this. So let's also create a property for the content also. So we are going to change this and create the property and we're going to call this screen title. Yeah, so let's leave it as screen title. So now we're going to add the remaining icons that we are supposed to have. And then I'm going to create like a property for this so that we can easily swap between these icons. So the next icon is category. Let me see if we have any category here. But let's use grid. Let's see how that will go. Alright, I think I would want us to use this. Let's just use this. I can't think of anything, so I'll just use this. But you can choose a better icon, probably if you have the time to think. So let's just push this here and make this component. And then the next icon that we're going to bring in is hearts. That's for our wish list. So I'm going to push that in. So this is favorite. And the last icon is user. So we're going to use this one. Oh no, I think I made a mistake there. Let me just go back. This changed actually. So I'm just going to select outside so it doesn't swap it for us. Alright, so the user icon is now in. So I'm just going to close this. We don't need it anymore. Make sure you make everything a component so we can easily swap between them. So I'm going to select this. So now it's now time to edit this. And then we're now going to create the property for this and call this swap icon. So I'm going to add the other icons that we can swap it with. And this. Alright, so this is what I want. Alright, so we're going to create property. So now we can now select both of them and remove the fill. So, but make sure this is our black color, please. This also is our black color. Oh, I think it has disappeared. Let's just add the white fill. Let's leave the white fill the way it is. So I'm just going to drag this down and use Alt while holding Alt. Don't actually do that without holding Alt. So I'm just going to push this. I don't want this to leave the bottom. So I'm going to duplicate this quickly and add auto layout to it. And then I'm going to keep duplicating. So I need it in 4 places because we have 4 navs that we're going to be using. So I'm going to stretch this to 3, 3, 3, 5 and then center it. And then I'm going to make sure that the gap between them is auto. Alright, so this is what I want. So now since we're currently on the home, so let's reduce this. So the height for this, I just wanted to have like, we are going to add constraint to this. So let's put this to be pinned to the bottom so that it won't be affected by we dragging this one down. So I want the gap, okay, 8, wow, perfect. So now we can make this a component. Let's make sure this is a component. So we can now create this as a component. What just happened? Let me go back. Now let me select that again. So it has gone back to, so we're going to add, make sure it's blue before you add component to it though. I kind of like went back with Control Z because I didn't understand what I just did there. So I'm just going to make this a component again. Yeah, so it's a component now. So we are just quickly going to edit it. For now, we just need only the home. So I'm going to select this particular frame and we're going to change this to, let's change the state for this. Let's quickly edit this. And I'm going to also edit the state. So this is like the selected states. And this is like the default state. So now we're just going to edit this and come back here and change this to selected. And the default state, probably we'll just change it to gray. I think the black is just too much. So we're going to change this to gray. Yeah. So I'm just going to select this now and change the icon. So now, based on those property we created, we can now come here and change this to category. And let's make sure that we add components to this main. Sorry, we make this auto layout and we'll make this also auto layout. And then we'll just have to reduce this text. Let's just reduce it to like 11. So it doesn't end up scattering our work for us. We're going to change to this. Yep. So let me adjust that quickly again. Let me make sure that there's no space between it and anything. So let's reduce I think this is okay. So I'm just going to change the icon now. So let's go back to selecting the icon. And then I'm just going to select the icon. Where is it? So now we can now change the icon to whatever thing we want. I think that this is what we selected. We'll just have to change this to our gray color. And then we'll come over here also and change this to wish list. And then I'm going to come here and change this to our heart symbol. So I'm going to change this icon to user icon. And then change it. I'm going to change this to profile. So these are all default. So now that we've created this, finally we can now push it inside of our frame. So I'm just going to select this and select this and paste it. Now we are going to push it to the bottom. So one last thing, we're just going to add like a little shadow to elevate this a bit. So I'm just going to go over to effects, click on effects, and I'm just going to change this to -8 and add this 16. You can see it's already changing because this is the main component. That's why this is already changing. So I'm going to change this to 8 and I don't want it to be too much. So I'm going to go to created in this file and add this color, change it to 8. Yes, so it shouldn't be too visible. It's not too elevated, but there's something there. Alright, so this is it now. So now that we are done with this, we're going to move to the next part. Congratulations, you're done with the home. So we're going to duplicate this. And then I'm going to actually, before we move forward, I'm going to add a variant to this. So the variant is going to host a button here instead of all this. So I'm just going to quickly create the button. Let me just name it add to cart. And then I'm going to give it 16 and semi-bold. And then I'm going to hold Shift A to add auto layout to it. So I'm going to name this button. So we're going to, the top and bottom padding should be 12. And we can have anything here basically, but let's just give it like 355 for the width. And now we can now add our primary color, which is the orange. And then I'm going to have like 100% corner radius. So now that we have this, we're going to name this button. I'm just going to make it a component. So our button has a component. I'm going to copy by clicking Ctrl C or Command C if you're using a Mac. And then I'm just going to select this entire row and we're going to right click and paste to replace. Yes. Alright, so this is what we want. So we now have like, this is for nav link. We're going to call this nav links. And we're going to call this button. And then I'm going to make sure that I'll add this, make this a property so we can edit the text content. CTA content. Yes, so now that we have this is just what. Alright, so now it's time to delete every one of this so we can start working on the second page, please. So I'm just going to delete this. So we are going to swap this to the button, the add to cart button. So this is what we want. So now let's start creating the next part. So let's just rename this to product details quickly. Alright, so the first thing we are going to do is to bring in cards. So I'm just going to select these cards. I'm going to just drag them inside here, holding Alt. Alright, so now that we've brought it inside of here, so I'm just going to make sure that this follows our margin. And then 24 from the top. Yep. So I'm going to stretch this to 335 and then change this to auto. Alright, so this is what we want. So this is going to host our back button. So I'm just going to quickly change this icon. So let's go over to huge icons. So this is the icon we are looking for. Alright, so now that we've changed it, I think we'll have to push this outside for a bit and then add the card that will host our product details. So I'm just going to push this downwards. Push this downwards. So I would just like the height of this to be like maybe 468. 468. Let's see how 468 looks. So I'm just going to push this downwards, and we're going to add a color to this. So we're going to change this to our white color. And then I'm going to add like corner radius to the left and right. So I'm not going to add like all around that. So I'm just going to add to the top here 24 and add 24 here also. We are not seeing this right now, but I'm just going to do something about that right now. So you see it has highlighted the box for us. So that means this particular component is inside of that box. So I'm just going to push it down. Then now we're going to change this to our gray 2 or the outline, the one that has like this outline color here, so that we can see this very, very well. So what we are going to sample here is like the tomato. Hold Alt while dragging, please, so that we don't end up pushing our main component inside of this. Because if you lose your main component, okay, we can actually restore it though. So I'm going to use the scale to change this to 200. Center it properly and make sure this is like 40. So the item is kind of like floating. Let's see if we can add like a shadow, a little shadow around it. Let me see if I can add a shadow. So I'm going to create something like a shadow quickly. So let's make this 1E, 1E, 1E. And then I'm going to add like a little blur effect. So this is going to be layer blur. And probably we can just make it 16 and see. Ooh, I think 16 is too much. Let's see 8. It doesn't look bad. Let's use 12 instead. So I'm just going to stretch this a bit, and the height, let's change the height to 4 and see how that works. So let's change the width to 160 and do the same for this also. And then let me select both of them and make sure that the tomato is in front of them. I don't know. I think our object is still floating a bit. I don't think I can make this perfect, but let's see how this goes. Alright. Well, not looking bad though. I think we can just use this, but this is looking too much, so I'm just going to reduce it. I don't want to spend too much time on this, so I'm just going to reduce this a bit. Let's see if we use like 60 here and see how it looks. Ooh, or 60 looks good, but not good at the same time. So I'm just going to push it down a bit and make sure it clips properly. Alright, I think we have what we want. We can just leave it like this and just continue what we are doing. So for now, the next thing we're going to work on now is the details that's going to go inside of here. So this is tomato, obviously. So we're going to add tomato. And what we can just do is can just make this 24, since this should be like our header, and semi-bold. I think semi-bold is okay. So we're going to maintain our margin and make this, let's leave this at 32 this time around. What else? So we're just going to add a little details beneath this. So this is going to say fresh. I don't know why this text keeps going over to centered. And locally grown. So now that we have this, we can just change this to probably 12 or something. I don't know, 12 looks a bit too small, but let's change this to regular and see. Let's change this to 14. Alright, so we have this. I'm just going to add auto layout to this. And let's put this at 4. Oh, I think 4 looks too close. 4 looks great though. Let's keep working. Probably we might decide to change it. So another thing we're going to do now is just come over here and drag this so that we can add our favorite, and so that they can add it to their wish list. And I'm just going to select both of these, add auto layer, and make sure it's centered properly. Yeah, the gap should be that. And let's check what is inside of here. So this is 24. Let's see if what we have here, we already have like a field for this. Let me just create a frame around this so that we can see what we are doing. Let me name this icons. So I'm just going to pick this icon here. So that's 24, so we can use it there too. So I'm just going to select this and make sure our icon is selected. So I'm just going to paste to replace since we have selected from there. Oh, jeez. What did I just do? I think I went to click copy instead. So let's just quickly go back and copy it again. So I'm just going to hit Ctrl C, or you can use Command C if you're using a Mac. And I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to use Ctrl. Or let me not use the shortcut. Let me just go over here and do Ctrl paste to replace. Yeah. So now we are going to add our outline color quickly. Let's add the outline color to this. And let's also add outline. Let's add stroke. Let's add outline to it too. Yes, this is what I want. So once someone selected it, turns to. Oh, let me just change the color for this. Let's change this to our gray color. Yeah, I think this is more visible and better. So this is okay. So the next part that we're going to create is our ratings and every other thing. So I'm just going to draw like this large distance here. I'm going to make this 335 and make sure that we are maintaining. Let's use 20 this time around. So I'm going to give it the corner radius of 12. And let's give it a fill. So the fill we're going to use is like our corner. Oh, let me use the background color as our fill and see let's see how that goes. Wow, what did I just click? Alright, so let me just come over here and change this to our BG color. Yes, I think this is okay. The BG color is okay. So now it's time to add some elements inside of this. So what I'm quickly going to do is to add the first one, which is the rating. I'm going to just come here and copy the ratings from here, please. So I'm going to copy this and come over here, select this our frame and paste. So now that we've pasted this, we can now add text beneath it, which we are going to call ratings. And this should be like 12, and we're going to take it to regular. And then I'm going to put it and add both of them, make it add auto layout to it, sorry, not component, add auto layout to it and make sure this distance or the gap between them is 4. So now that we have this, I'm going to center this properly, align this to the middle, and I'm going to duplicate this also and duplicate the final duplicate. So I'm just going to make sure that there's an auto layout added to the frame and maintain the width that we want to maintain. And we're going to change this to auto. Yeah, so it stretches. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do now is add some little demarcations around it. So I'm just going to bring in I'm just going to draw a line. Just a short line. And then push it inside of it. Alright. Alright, so we are going to change this to our gray fill and duplicate it and push it. I think it's too visible, so we are going to change this to, let's change it to our outline color and see if it's going to still be obvious. Not obvious, not too obvious. I think this is still okay though. So this is not going to be, this is going to be time. So we're going to say this is like 4 hours. I want this should be centered. I'm going to center this. And this is also going to be centered. So this should be hog. And this also should be hog. I think this is okay at fill, but the entire frame should be hog. The entire frame also should be hog. Alright, now that we have this, we're going to change this icon shortly, but let me just edit the details. And lastly, reviews. So let's just say 4K plus. So let's just say 3K plus reviews. So for let me just copy this, or let's just select this and add an icon to this. So we're going to go over here and name this and call it, the icon will be, let's call it delivery. Let's see if there's any delivery icon that we can see. Let's select this package. Alright, so we have added this, but it's kind of like much. Let's see the height of this particular. So it's 16. So let's reduce this to 16. Let's lock the aspect ratio and change it to 16. And then I'm just going to Control X and then come over here and paste it. So I'm just going to paste to replace, and then I'm going to paste to replace also, but we're going to use a different icon for this. So I'm just going to search user. So this is the one we are going to use. Alright, so now that we have that, so I'm just going to double click this and make sure I'm going to reduce the outline. It looks too much. So I'm just going to reduce the stroke. Let's leave the stroke at 1, please. Alright, so this is what we want. So for this, I think I should just remove the spacing within them. Let me change this to 0 and see how it looks. Oh, I think it's too close. Let's leave it the way it is. So this looks okay, and let's just leave this at let's see how 12 looks. And this is okay. I think this looks good. So let's just make sure that this maintains our 20 padding. Let's see what we used here. Corner radius 12. Alright, this is good. So we're just going to quickly bring in a description for this. Probably we'll just use Lorem Ipsum for this. So let's see what we used here. We use 16 semi-bold, so this should also be 16 semi-bold. Make sure it's 20 and make sure this also is 20. And we're just going to quickly add some text here. Let me just add some random text, then we apply Lorem Ipsum to it. So I'm just going to give it like an alignment, a left alignment. And it should be like 12. Alright, so our text should be like, let's make the text like 14. And it should be like regular. So I'm just going to draw this whole thing. And then select this. And then go to, or let's just select the whole frame. Sorry, the whole text. And then go to saved. So we want to use content reel to bring in Lorem Ipsum text for this, because I don't think we have the time to want to type out everything. So we're just going to move this right here and go over to text and add Lorem Ipsum. So I'm just going to select the areas which I want. Okay, that looks too much actually. So I'm just going to select from down here. We don't need all this part. And then I'm going to change the layout for the text. I think this is okay. We can just change this to 335 to just fill in this area. Yeah. And we can even decide to truncate the text so it doesn't pass. So I'm just going to truncate the text and make sure it's like maybe 5 lines. Okay, I think it's already 5 lines, but let's make it 4 lines and see. Yeah. So I think 4 lines too is not bad. So we are just going to quickly add the final part, which is our pricing. So, but before we move forward, let's just add this into one layout and call this description. So now that we have this, the next thing we're going to just quickly draw. We're going to draw another frame that will host our price and us being able to actually increase and decrease the quantity we want. So for this, I'm just going to quickly add like our outline there's no fill for this. So we are just going to add our outline color to the borders, and I'm going to keep this at outside and change this to 12. And then the frame that so let's call this price plus quantity. So this will be like minus. And let's quickly add outline to this also and make this 100. Let's give it corner radius of 100. Oh, I think I almost clicked on something different. Corner radius of 100, and let's quickly add like an icon inside of this. I'm going to select here and then minus. So I'm going to add minus inside of this. So we're going to center it properly. So for this, I want this entire frame, that's the frame holding this, to be like 40. So I'm going to look at aspect ratio and increase this to 40. And then inside of this should be 24, which is already 24. That's great. And I'm going to duplicate this also. And what is inside is going to be plus. So since we don't have plus here, I'm just going to add plus quickly. All right, let's select plus and make sure it changes. So now that we have that, I'm just going to select this. Then we have this, and we're going to make the center, add auto layout to it. Did I add auto layout to this right now? No, I didn't. So let me add auto layout. So we are just going to push this to the center. But before we move forward, let's quickly add some text. So let me just add one quantity, let me push this inside of here and make sure that we maintain 12 gap. I think 26 is too much. I think 12 is okay. We're going to fix all this shortly. Let's leave this at 16. I'm coming back to fix this actually. Let's leave this at 12. And then we can now bring in the text. That's how much this costs. So let's just say the former price was like $24. I'm going to change this to semi-bold. Well, let me leave it at, no, I think semi-bold looks great. And this should be like 24. And then I'm going to duplicate this also and add this. Make it, add auto layout to it and give it like a gap of 12 or 4 looks great. Then this will just be like our grade 1, the grade price, which is like the former price. This will be the former price. So I'm just going to quickly slash it and change it to our gray color. Still looks very, very prominent. So I'm just going to, I think that's almost faded completely. I think this gray is not bad. Let me just detach it and reduce the gray a bit. I don't want it to be this thick. I think I like this now. So this is currently now selling at $12, which is what we have here. I didn't actually think of that though. So I'm just going to add auto layout to this. And now we have this. Let's see top and bottom. I want top and bottom to be 12, while the sides also be 12. So this looks great, and we just need to maintain one last thing here, 12, and this should be 335. So we center everything properly, 20, 20, 21, y should be 20 also. All right, so we have everything set. I think we are done with this page also. So let's quickly move over to the final page. So I'm just going to duplicate this. This time around, this is like our cart. That's like my cart. I'm going to name it my cart. So we are going to change this. Let me quickly delete this. We don't need this here. I'm going to delete this also. And we're going to delete this entire thing. And then I'm going to change this to our background color. We changed the color to the outline color. So I'm going to change this to our background color. Yeah, so our background color is back. So now we need to add the header of this section. Unlike this is our product details. So I'm just going to add cart to this, my cart. So let's just say cart. Let me add my cart there. And then I'm just going to push this inside of this. Yes, so this is in the middle. I'm just going to reduce this text probably like 16, or let's leave it at 18. I think 18 looks great. So now that we have this, so we now need to now create the next section. So now we need to create another version of this particular product card. So I'm just going to drag this product card here, and we are going to detach it and recreate it quickly. So now I'm going to detach this and recreate it. I'm detaching instance and changing the width to like 335. Oh, wow, we're stretching with it. Okay, let's change this to this. Oh, I think this is perfect. We're just going to change the height to 120. Oh, I think this is not actually filling this. Let's change this to fill also. So the height will also be fill. So we're going to change this to 120. All right, so we have this at this. And then I'm just going to add like a little gap around it. So the gap should be like 12. And this also should fill. This should be fill. And then the gap should be auto. And then let me make sure of what we are doing here. So we're going to edit this shortly, and I want this to come down. So we're going to edit this. So I'm just going to remove this. You know what? Let me bring in this. I need this. So I'm just going to copy this, but I'll reduce the entire size there. Let me copy this. We are going to have this also here. So I'm just going to that's paste to replace. That's what I did here. I just used the shortcut for paste to replace instead of right clicking and coming over here. So this is the shortcut I used. So I'm just going to use the key to scale it down. So the height, let's use height of 24. Let's see how that looks. Looks a bit too small. Let's change it to 28. Yeah, 28 is not looking bad. So the next thing we're going to add, we're just going to add an icon here. So I'm just going to select this card and add the cancel icon. So this is going to be X. So we're just going to go over here and click on this. So we don't want that there. So I'm just going to cut it with Ctrl X, and then I'm just going to paste to replace this. So this is what we currently have right now. So now that we have this, I'm just going to make this a component also. This is another type of card, and I'm going to drag it inside of here. And then we're going to center it and make sure it's 20. We give it 20. I think 24 is okay. We're just going to leave it at 24. And then I'm going to duplicate it and push this down here. This should be like 12. And then let's quickly edit this. So what should we change this to? Let me, alright, I think we didn't actually make this add anything to this. Let me see if we added. Alright, so we are just going to create a property for this. So I'm just going to add all of our images that we have. So we already have tomatoes there. Alright, so this is what we are going to just do. And this also, we are going to add the content to this. Item title, item name, and then this would be the price. Item price. But we're going to change the size of this price, please. The size, let's change it to 24. Yeah, that looks okay. So now we can select this now. We can select this and edit what we want to edit. Alright, I think did we create the product card for this? Let's see. Alright, we didn't actually add. So let's create an instance for the item image. Okay, I didn't create it actually. Swap item. So I'm just going to add it, and this and this and this. And then I'm going to select this and create property. That's what I didn't click the last time. Alright, so we can now edit this sharply. So I can change this to avocado and see how it looks. Well, let's change this to meat. You know what, let me change it back to avocado. I'm going to change it to avocado. The price that we have for our avocado there. Oh Jesus, I'm editing I've forgotten that I already created this. So I went to edit it manually. So what do we have for our avocado? Let me just put like a random, probably like 24 or something. Alright, so now that we have this now, we're just going to quickly create the next session. So let's say that this user has like a voucher, so that they can actually apply to use a voucher. So I'm going to change the height to 40 and change this to white color. Give it the corner radius of like 100. And this should be like 24. And don't forget, maintain this width. So I'm going to change this to enter discount code. I'm going to change this to left alignment, push center it. Let's leave this as 20. And I'm going to reduce this to 12, as this is standard for placeholder test, and regular. And I'm going to change this to our gray color. I think this gray color is okay. I'm just going to center this then, and then come over here and create our apply button. And then use Shift A to actually add the whole thing. And so we are just going to apply the fill, our green fill here. And then the text is going to be the green too. So I'm going to just push this and then, alright, so we can just change the height to 40. Well, let me try changing this and see. Let's change this to like 14. And let's see if it has been able to actually enter that. Or let's just change it to 16 instead then. Still not getting up to 40. Let's just manually add 40, please. And then I'm going to push it to the end. So let's give this probably like 24. Oh, 24 looks too much. Probably 16 is okay. Yes. So I think this text is now looking too big. So I'm just going to reduce it to like 14. Yes. So this is what we currently have right now. So for them to apply for the voucher. So we're now going to go to the next part, which is the order summary. So we're going to use so I'm going to change this to semi-bold, and I'm going to change this to 16. So this should be 24 as usual. And then we're going to just create this frame here to host our order summary. And then let me just quickly add our outline color as stroke. And this is just going to be like 12. The corner radius is just going to be like 12. And then let's make sure the distance between this. Okay, let's change the width to like 335. I'm going to center it and then make sure that this is like 12. So I'm going to select both of them and add auto layout to it. And make sure this is 24. And now we can now start adding our text inside of it. So we have subtotal. So we're going to change this to regular and then select both of them, add auto layout to it. And then I'm going to add auto layout to the entire frame and make sure that we just have like the gap from the top should be like 16 and we have the gap from the two sides also to be 16. And I'm going to make this auto. So already at auto, probably we might just change this to fill. Yes. So I'm going to duplicate this and make sure that this is duplicated and change this to discounts. And this to, let's say we don't have any discount on this. So this one will be for our delivery fee. And this should be for the VAT. And this should be for the total. So let's say delivery fee is like $4. And since we have two items, one is 24 plus this, that's like 36. And let's say VAT is like $2. So at the end of the day, we might just have like 42. So we're just going to add like some lines, like just to demarcate the every other thing from. So I'm just going to hit Ctrl X and paste this. So we're going to change this to our outline color. And then I'm going to change this to like 0.5. And it's going to be, the layout is going to be fill. So I'm going to duplicate this also and put this down here also. So this is what we currently have. I think the gap should be like 12 instead of 10. I think this looks okay. And finally, we are going to bring in this, carry this and paste inside of this. So I'm going to push it downwards. Yeah. So this will now be checkout. So this will be check out. And the value to check out is $42. So I think this is where we are at currently. Let me cross check everything and make sure that everything is on point and we did everything correctly. So this is everything we have. And these are all the components that we've created within this project. So I'm just going to move them to one side so that we can visualize what we've created so far. Alright, so if you've made it this far, thank you so much and I really appreciate. See you in the next video. Peace out.